It's N60 Sean, it is Dr. Trayaurus taking on DanTDM. DanTDM defending his N60K Championship, the match he won in the 60,000 subscriber celebration ladder match. But wait a second, before we go into that, we've got some pugs on the loose. Darcy and Ellie, DanTDM's pugs, obviously good friends with Dr. Trayaurus, have sprung an ambush on Dan and Phil, obviously trying to even the odds. Dr. Trayaurus setting the dogs on Dan and Phil, not content with smothering their weirdness all over the last video. Darcy and Ellie, these human pug monsters, have come out to take out Dan and Phil, and as premeditated ambushes go in this series, this has been one of the worst. As Darcy and Ellie is getting beaten up by Dan and Phil. And Phil, I think this is what Dr. Trayaurus is thinking, to try and get Darcy and Ellie to eliminate Phil from ringside. Usually whenever DanTDM is out of match, Phil is involved, and I think Darcy just completely missed with that sit out. And now Shenwu's just taking a springboard tornado DDT. Absolute savagery from these pugs, dealing out punishment at ringside. Dan and Phil getting beaten up by pugs. That is what is happening right now. And Dan is taking a beating before this match, and he's going to have his work cut out for him, because Dr. Trayaurus is no slouch when it comes to the squared circle, and I think they're just trying to get Phil out from the ringside area. And now I think that's Ellie with the N60K Championship just beating on Phil with that title belt, and referee Shenwu trying to restore some law and order here. And here comes Dr. Trayaurus. So this whole match came about in the last video. We asked you in the comments to say what you thought Dr. Trayaurus' reward for winning the Battle Royal should be. It was a toss-up between him being the one to save Sunday from Timmy Terror and Mr. Mister, or getting an N60K title match. We've gone for that, because also I don't think the N60K Championship is going to be around for much longer, because we're almost at 70K, where this title will then magically transform into the N70K Championship. Will probably be defended in a 70,000 subscriber celebration match, but that is for a future video, because the real business here is who's going to be walking into that match, because Dan is taking on Dr. Trayaurus here, and Dan is probably, and he looks pretty angry. He looks pretty angry, because whenever you harm Phil, that gets Dan even more annoyed. It makes him even more powerful, and I think setting pugs on him and Phil is probably going to annoy him more than ever, because he's going to be all confused, because he probably should be liking pugs, but they're beating him up. And Dan now picking up Dr. Trayaurus. Dr. Trayaurus looking to be our second ever N60K Championship. DanTDM was also our first ever N60 champion, and he also beat DanTDM in the finals to win that match. So obviously some no love lost between chums of DanTDM and DanTDM. Is Dr. Trayaurus goes for the rake of the eyes and the roll up here. That's 1, 2, and new champ, but Dan just managing to roll through again. That was 1, and Trayaurus powering out. Still far too much energy at this stage of the match, as Dan just catches him with those kicks. He's liking those cheeky little kicks as he bends Trayaurus over his knee. And that is an uncomfortable position for Dr. Trayaurus to be in. Dan is not on fire. Controlled clumsiness. Added anger when his friend Phil is hurt. And the Dan DDT. The Dan DDT taking out Trayaurus. And I'll tell you what, that could be it. That's one of Dan's signature maneuvers. There's 1, 2. And Trayaurus just kicking out. And that pre-pug attack doesn't look like it's done much. Doesn't look like it's given Trayaurus much advantage whatsoever. And Dan is sort of a legendary performer here, and Dr. Trayaurus is going to have to pull out all of the stops, all of the potions, all of the pugs, and well, that'll do it. That will definitely give you some sort of advantage, and the crowd is not happy with that. Not a fan of that sort of behaviour in this wrestling ring. Trayaurus sending Dan to the outside of the ring. DanTDM, Dan is not on fire, holding those ribs, as Trayaurus looks to be rearranging some furniture here, but Dan managed to catch him with a drop kick. Why don't people incapacitate people more before trying to go for those announce tables? They're always getting caught out, trying to disable the monitors and all of that stuff, and now Dan is trying to, again, getting caught with a bulldog whilst trying to pull the monitors out from the announce table. Trayaurus climbing into the ring. And now Dan is not on fire, hanging him up. And Dan Also with the advantage of this one, catching a Trayaurus with a backdrop, dropping him on the back of his head. And now he's going up top. Never a good place for Dan to be. On top of that turnbuckle, waiting for Trayaurus to get up. He gets his breath and boots him from the top rope all the way down to the ringside area below. And that is a bad landing for Dan. And Trayaurus once again working those eyes. That dirty trickster approach from Trayaurus. And now Dan on that table. Monitor's still there. This is a bad place for Dan to be in. Trayaurus setting him up. Could be going for the pulling power driver here. And oh, the power driver in the head. Getting driven right onto the rim of that table. One of the most painful parts of that table to be finding yourself. And now Trayaurus picking up Dan, throwing him into the ring. And that could be the high piece of offense, high impact offense move that Trayaurus needs to signal to secure this one. N60K Championship on the line. That's 2. And Dan just kicking out on the stroke of 2. Almost had a new N60K champion, who will go into our 70,000 subscriber celebration with that title around their waist. It's Trayaurus blowing the mist onto his hand. Could be looking for the claw here. And he gets that claw, rubbing that horrible, disgusting, vile potion into the eyes of Dan. And drags him down to the mat. And could that be a potion which is going to have incapacitated Dan, make him unconscious? Trayaurus climbing up to the top rope, looking for some high risk here, but nobody home. Absolutely miles away with that elbow drop. And Trayaurus looked like he could have just had some advantage there with that potion. Another backbreaker. Right on the spine of Trayaurus. He's going to be moving slowly. And a big right hand. Trayaurus has tried everything. He's used the potions. He's been grabbing people in sensitive areas, which should be a police matter. Pugs have been on the loose. And now a Luthes press from DanTDM. And Trayaurus has not really been much at the races of this one. And Dan catching referee Shen Wu. And now Phil's back. What is Phil doing here? Phil's come back. Phil's escaped the pugs. And now he's sneak attacked Trayaurus and hitting him with a Luthes press of his own. I guess this is just payback from the earlier assault from the pugs. And Shen Wu is just being in collateral damage. I've never seen this side of Phil. Phil is angry. Or he's got rabies from the pugs. Who knows? But Phil is not happy and he is delivering a belly-to-belly suplex to Dr. Trayaurus. And he's going up top. Is this a good idea? Phil with the big splash to Trayaurus. And maybe taking on DanTDM for that championship was maybe an ask too much for Trayaurus in what is only, I think, his first ever one-on-one match. I think only his second ever appearance in a match. Going straight in for the title shot. Trayaurus shot from the ropes. And another Luthes press. He's taken a lot of punches to the face. Old Trayaurus. Probably stick to science, buddies. He gets put into the corner. And now Dan looking for those DDTs. Big tornado DDT. Planting Trayaurus in the middle of the ring. And again, going up top once again. Is he going to hit this? Trayaurus doesn't look like being in a position to maybe to knock Dan off the top rope this time. Hits him with the diving elbow. And now Dan waiting for Trayaurus to get up here. And Trayaurus gets hit with a big DDT. And could be going for the Pepsi plunge. Big trouble for Trayaurus. A big right hand. And Trayaurus in a world of trouble. Dan's got him hooked up. Big Pepsi plunge from the top rope. And that has got to be it. 1, 2, and 3, and that is it. Dan retains the N60K Championship. He will be heading into our 70,000 subscriber special to see if he can convert that belt into the N70K Championship. So drop a like if you enjoyed the video, guys. Also make sure that wait a second. Sunday Timmy Terror and Mr. with a sneak attack on the N60K champion. Phil trying to get into the ring to try and save his buddy, but just takes a right hand from Timmy Terror. The tag team champs and Sunday, who they brainwashed, have hit the ring, and now Trayaurus. And one of the One of the rumours was, could Trayaurus be the one to save Sunday? Could he be the one who could maybe concoct some sort of potion to maybe try and rearrange Sunday's brains to be back to the good side? But now, I think maybe Sunday, Timmy Terror and Mr. Mister maybe have heard that rumour and are just destroying Trayaurus and everybody else around them. And the brainwash Sunday, Timmy Terror and Mr. Mister, that combination proving to be a dangerous trio in this series. Who is going to save Sunday? Who's going to try and dethrone the tag team champions? Who's going to win the N60K Championship? With someone with a Money in the Bank briefcase might want to cash in and steal it. Who knows? Out there. Thanks for watching, guys. Oh, by the way, might be giving you a little bit more info on what Season 6 might be about tomorrow. See you later.